Good evening, one and all. We welcome you all to the international webinar series on holistic health, well-being, and sustainable development 2022-23, commemorating Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav, nation celebrating 75 years of independence, and United Nations Sustainable Development Goals 2015 to 2030 as part of awareness campaigns in collaboration with Sri Holistic Health Foundation India and Sri Research Institute Center for Art Sciences and Wellbeing. So before we start our sessions, let's take the blessings of Almighty.
कुरुत्वं कल्याणम् आरोग्यं धनसम्पदः शुभं कुरुत्वं कल्याणम् आरोग्यं धनसम्पदः शत्रुबुद्धिविनाशाय दीपज्योतिर्नमोऽस्तुते दीपज्योतिर्नमोऽस्तुते शुभं कुरुत्वं कल्याणम् आरोग्यं धनसम्पदः शुभं कुरुत्वं कल्याणम् आरोग्यं धनसम्पदः.
With the blessings of Almighty, we shall continue with today's sessions. There is an important announcement for everyone. This Republic Day, that is on 26th January, we are organizing an international conference on the glory of 74 years of Indian Republic, Constitution, independence, freedom struggle, unsung heroes, economy, education, empowerment, health, well-being, and sustainable development 2023. As part of Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav celebrations, that is 75 years of independence, and also 74th Republic Day celebrations. So we invite everyone to register. And if you are interested, you can present on any topic on 75 years of independence, how our nation has developed in various spheres of life, including from agriculture to space, technology, anything. On any aspect you can select, or you can present on various freedom struggle reformers, social workers, or freedom fighters, or any significant milestones in the Indian economic development, like milk revolution, green revolution, blue revolution. Like that, we have various aspects. You can talk or present on any topic. There are vast topics where, on patriotism or any topic that is, celebrating 75 years of independence or 74 years of Indian Republic Day. So we invite you on your presentations and participation on various topics, including economy, education, empowerment, or health, well-being, and sustainable development. There is no limitation on what topic you are taking, but make sure it is relevant to the context. And we have 3 minutes, minimum 3 minutes, maximum 5 minutes, or 15 minutes maximum, depending on the number of speakers and the availability of time. So as per the number of speakers, we'll be either starting at 11 o'clock or 2 o'clock accordingly. So if there are more speakers to accommodate, we'll start at 11 o'clock. If there are less speakers, because just some time before only we have decided on this conference. So you are the first, lucky ones to know about this. So a registration form has been shared in the chat box. You can fill the registration form and circulate among your friends And you also can prepare, because we all know about our Indian freedom struggle and various freedom fighters. You can present on them. Everyone will get an opportunity. So like we did on August 15th, 75 years of independence, we invited 75 speakers. So similar way, we are also planning if we could, invite around, at least have 74 to 75 presentations. So it would be great. So everyone can take time. You can present in a very short duration, being precise to the topic. So we invite everyone and we welcome everyone to the international conference on 26th January. So we are sharing, we have already shared, we are also sharing again the registration form and details. You can as well copy and share among your friends, groups, and circles. We have also shared the registration form for daily webinars in the chat box. Those who are not registered, we are receiving requests from many who are attending but not completing the formalities. So kindly ensure that you register daily whenever you are attending for daily international webinar series, so that you can participate and get your certificates from the website. If you are not registering, then data will not be available to generate certificates. And it is also important that you also provide feedback in a timely manner. Feedback is only available in the Zoom platform. And ensure that before you leave the platform, you complete the feedback form. As we have been issuing certificates, and the procedure remains same since the inception of this Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav series. So you can visit website and download recent all January till now, till yesterday's, day before yesterday's, all the Sundays and special days of January conferences. Certificates have been issued. You can visit website and download. And daily certificates are being updated. Maybe in a day or two, you can also download your certificates for daily webinars also. But make sure you register daily every day. The link is saved. So you can save the link and daily you can open and register for the international webinar series. And you can join with the same link for all the events. So with this, we welcome you to the international webinar series. And today we are also looking at, as usual, we have daily commemorations. Along with that, we have this animal welfare. Because that's a very big topic, will consume lot of facts are there. So we'll look at initially with the animal protection laws. In that we have covered the few of them, like animal protection laws in context of the Prevention of Cruelty, Animals Act 1960. Then we have covered the Performing Animals Rules 1973 and the Performing Animals Registration Rules 2001. And we have also covered the Prevention of Cruelty to Draft and Pack Animals Rules 1965. Now, today, we will be looking at the Transport of Animals Rules 1978, and other rules and acts as per the convenience of time. So let's continue with the animal protection laws. In that, as part of that, we are now dealing with the transport of animal rules 1978. So generally, as we transport anything, like even human beings also, similarly, animals, transport of animals also are have to be followed certain guidelines, and there are certain general conditions when transport of animals are concerned. So section 98 of the Transport of Animal Rules 1978 provides the general conditions for transport of animals. Animals to be transported shall be healthy and in good condition. They should be examined by a veterinary doctor for freedom from infectious diseases and their fitness to undertake the journey, provided that the nature and duration of proposed journey shall be taken into account while deciding upon the degree of fitness. An animal which is unfit for transportation shall not be transported, and the animals that are newborn, deceased, blind, emaciated, lame, fatigued, or having given birth during the preceding 72 hours are likely to give birth during transport shall not be transported. Pregnant and very young animals shall not be mixed with other animals during transport. Different classes of animals shall be kept separately during the transport. Deceased animals, whenever transported for treatment, shall not be mixed with other animals. And as mentioned, earlier also, the general conditions laid down in the section 98 of the Transport of Animal Rules 1978 should be strictly adhered to. And apart from that, there are different rules for transporting different categories of animal provided under the Transport of Animal Rules 1978, like overloading of animals amounts to treating of animals cruelly under section 11 of the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals Act 1960. If the above general conditions with regard to the transportation of animals are not met, the animal should be immediately unloaded and sent to the nearest animal shelter. Some further conditions that must be observed are, in the case of trucks whose wheelbase is over 142 inches, shall not carry more than 6 cattle without calves or 5 with calves. So the vehicle transporting them should be large enough to carry animals comfortably, and the animals should not be packed and jammed inside. The animals should also be protected from the weather. Animals are allowed to be transported by large vehicles only. Animals are not allowed to be transported by tempos or small vehicles where they are, packed or jammed inside. Within the vehicle, partitions must be provided at every 2 or 3 meters across the width to prevent the crowding and trapping of animals. Sufficient food and water shall be carried to last during the journey, and watering facilities should be provided at regular intervals. First aid equipment should be available in the vehicle. Suitable ramps should be provided for loading and unloading the animals. Materials for padding, such as straw, shall be placed on the floor to avoid injury, and this shall be not less than 5 centimeters thick. Apart from this, there are specific rules for transporting different categories of animals provided under the Transport of Animal Rules 1978, which specifies the maximum number of animals that can be carried by different types of vehicles. Overloading of animals amounts to treating of animals cruelly under section 11 of the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals Act 1960. The offender, in case of first offense, will have to pay a fine which shall extend to 50 rupees. And if it is the case of second offense or subsequent offense committed within 3 years of the previous offense, he will be fined not less than 25 rupees, but which may extend to 100 rupees, or with imprisonment for a term which may extend to 3 months, or with both. Also, in the case of second offense, the offender's vehicle is confiscated and he will never be allowed to keep an animal again. And as we have seen various categories of animals, there are various rules. And let's look at the rules of transportation for monkeys provided under the Transport of Animal Rules 1978. We see there is monkeys are also widely transported for various purposes. So monkeys are to be transported in a suitable wooden or bamboo cages. The following two sizes of cages shall be used during the transportation of monkeys through rail: 910 into 760 into 510 mm. This cage shall contain not more than 12 monkeys weighing between 1.8 and 3 kilograms each, or 10 monkeys weighing between 3.1 and 5.0 kilograms each. And another cage of dimension 710 by 710 into 519 mm shall contain not more than 10 monkeys weighing between 1.8 and 3 kilograms each, or 8 monkeys weighing between 3.1 and 5 kilograms each. Also, not more than one cage shall be placed over the other, and gunny packing shall be placed between the two cages when one is placed over the other. But when the monkeys are transported by air through flight, the following two sizes of cages shall be used: 460 into 460 by 460 mm. This cage shall contain not more than 10 monkeys weighing from 1.8 to 3 kilograms each, or 4 monkeys weighing from 3.1 to 5 kilograms each. 760 into 530 into 460 mm. This cage shall contain not more than 10 monkeys weighing from 1.8 to 3 kilograms each, or 8 monkeys weighing from 3.1 to 5 kilograms each. We have been listening, and maybe many of might be aware, and many might not also be not aware of different types of gauges of railway tracks. We see, meter gauge, broad gauge, narrow gauge. We keep hearing these gauges, right? What are these gauges? So these gauge is the distance between two parallel railway tracks, where in broad gauge, the distance between two tracks is 5 feet 6 inches. In meter gauge, the distance between two tracks is 3 feet 3 inches. In narrow gauge, the distance between two tracks is 2 feet 6 inches. So we see, a railway track, where on which train moves. So the distance between two tracks, two parallel tracks, is known as the gauge. So the wider gauge is the broad gauge, and the narrow one is the narrow gauge, and the medium one is the meter gauge, in between broad gauge and narrow gauge. So that is the difference between two tracks which are parallel to each other, where on which two wheels of the train moves. So what are the rules of transportation for cattle provided under the Transport of Animal Rules 1978? When cattle are to be transported by rail or ordinary goods wagon, shall carry not more than 10 adult cattle or 15 cows on broad gauge, and not more than 6 adult cattle or 10 cows on meter gauge, and not more than 4 adult cattle or 6 cows on narrow gauge. So that is why it is also important to understand these gauges also, on what gauge, how many animals can be transported in a wagon. Wagon means that bogie, what we call generally coach. While transporting cattle by goods vehicle, only 6 cattle can be loaded per truck. The permissible loading in a truck is only 4 buffaloes, and truck having wheelbase below 142 inches shall not carry more than 5 cattle without calves or 4 with calves. We see many, uh, often, especially on highways and on various main roads, we see cattle is stuffed and you know jammed into vehicles, and huge number of cattle are transported. This is illegal and violation of the rules also. So only 4 or 5, depending on the size of the vehicle, maximum 5 to 6 cattle, depending on the size and depending on the arrangement, internal arrangement, can be allowed in a truck comfortably. So we'll also look at the rules for transportation of equines provided under the transportation of animal rules. We see equines are horses. For the transport of equines by rails, an ordinary goods wagon by rail, if we are transporting by train, goods wagon shall not carry more than 8 to 10 horses or 10 mules or 10 donkeys on broad gauge, and not more than 6 horses or 8 donkeys on meter gauge. If equines are to be transported by goods vehicle, then each vehicle may not carry more than 4 to 6 equines. Equines include all like horses, donkeys, mules, etc. So with regard to the transport of equines by sea, horses may normally be accommodated in single stalls and mules in pens, each pen holding a maximum of 4 to 5 mules. And let's look at the rules for transportation of sheep and goats provided under the transportation of animal rules 1978. In broad gauge, in the area of a wagon less than 21.1 square meter, permissible number of sheep or goats is 70. In the area of a wagon 21.11 square meters and above, permissible number of sheep or goats is 100. In a broad gauge, in meter gauge, in the area of a wagon less than 12.5 square meters, permissible number of sheep or goats is 50. In narrow gauge, in the area of a wagon 12.5 square meters and above, permissible number of sheep or goats is 60. So goods vehicle of capacity 5 or 4.5 tons, which are generally used for transporting animals, shall not carry more than 40 sheep or goats. So when transporting, especially poultry birds by rail, road, and air, there are certain rules provided. Containers are used for transporting poultry by rail, road, and air. The crates or the cages that are used for transporting poultry must be sterilized and may not be piled one above the other. There are specific numbers of poultry that may be accommodated in such containers, like month-old chicks, maximum 24 in a container, 3-month-old chicks, 12 in a container, and adult stock, excluding geese and turkeys, 12, and geese and turkeys, a maximum 10 young, 2 growing, and 1 adult in a container. And newborn chicks, 80 in a container, and a poultry, 60 in a container. That is a maximum number where we can carry in a container. And let's look at the rules provided for transportation of pigs by rail or road. In transportation of pigs by road, goods vehicles which are generally used for transporting of animals shall not carry more than 20 pigs. While transporting pigs by rail, no railway wagon shall accommodate more than number of pigs. Like in broad gauge, in the area of a wagon less than 21.1 square meters, number of pigs allowed is 35. In the area of wagon more than 21.1 square meters, number of pigs allowed is 50. In meter gauge, in the area of wagon less than 12.5 square meters, number of pigs allowed is 25. In the area of wagon more than 12.5 square meters, the number of pigs allowed is 30. And on narrow gauge, transportation of pigs are not allowed. Only 4 passengers, excluding the driver, are allowed on a tonga or a total of 325 kgs. And you might wonder, we are talking about, transport by road or rail or through air and sea. What about transportation of animals by foot? Animals are also transported by, making them walk on the roads or, the field from one place to other. So yes, there are also rules and regulations regarding transportation animals by foot. So let's look at, there is a separate rule, the prevention of cruelty to animals, transport of animals on foot rules 2001 applies wherever the distance involved is 5 kilometers or more. So each animal must be certified healthy by a veterinarian in the prescribed form. The owner must provide first aid equipment to accompany the animals, as well as make proper watering and fodder arrangements en route. Animals must be rested for 20 minutes after watering and 1 hour after feeding. No whip or stick may be used to hurry up the animals. No animal shall be tied by the nose or leg, only around the neck. Only 2 animals and only of the same size may be tied adjacent to one another using a single rope. The space between them shall be a minimum of 2 feet. No animal shall be transported on foot before sunrise or after sunset or during heavy rain or extremely dry conditions. Heavily pregnant, newborn, blind, emaciated, diseased, and lame animals may not be taken on foot. Animals who are not shod, example goats, elephants, etc., cannot be transported on foot on hard cement or metal tarred roads or rocky terrain. Any police officer above the rank of constable or any other person authorized by state or central government or Animal Welfare Board of India can require any owner who is violating these rules to take the animals to the nearest magistrate. Now we will look at other rule as part of animal protection law. The prevention of cruelty to animals, slaughterhouse rules 2001. So we see, animals are killed for meat and for various other purposes. But of course, that we are completely against killing of animals or any type of cruelty. But in spite of that, if at all an animal has to be, slaughtered, there are certain rules provided under the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals Act 1960, namely Slaughterhouse Rules 2001, Section 2C of the above mentioned act defines slaughterhouse as a place wherein 10 or more than 10 animals are slaughtered per day and is duly licensed or recognized under a central, state, or provincial act or any rules or regulations made thereunder. Section 3(1) of the above mentioned act provides that the animals cannot be slaughtered except in a recognized and licensed slaughterhouse. So wherever we want, we cannot slaughter an animal. An animal, if at all, to be slaughtered has to be done in the slaughterhouse, which is duly licensed or recognized under any of the act, like central government act or state government act or provincial act. And section 3(2) prohibits slaughtering of any animal which is pregnant, which has an offspring less than 3 months old, or the animal which is under the age of 3 months or which has not been certified by a veterinary doctor that it is fit in a fit condition to be slaughtered. So before slaughtering an animal, these precautions should be taken and observed. If the animal is pregnant or if an animal has an offspring, that is baby less than 3 months old, and if the animal which is being slaughtered or to be slaughtered is under the age of 3 months and which is not certified by veterinary doctor, should not be slaughtered. So now you might have got a doubt or have a clarification here. Then is slaughtering of an animal apart from in the slaughterhouse legal? Because we have seen in these rules that animals can be only slaughtered in the slaughterhouse, which is registered and licensed. Now, how do we see many, animals are killed in the markets, open houses where they are not registered. So is it legal? Wherever there is a government slaughterhouse, slaughter cannot be done anywhere else. So if there is no government slaughterhouse in that area, then killing can only take place in a licensed slaughterhouse, which should be situated where they are not a public nuisance or an environmental hazard. These slaughterhouses have to follow all municipal corporation laws and the ISI regulations. No animals can be slaughtered in slums, in roadside meat shops, or in dabas, or in private houses. Slaughtering of any animal at any place other than a licensed slaughterhouse is prohibited. We see it's wherever we see many animals are slaughtered on roadside and in private places, but this is against the law and against the rules and regulations. It has to be either done in government slaughterhouse or any slaughterhouse which is licensed or registered. With regard to the environmental hazard and public nuisance, Srimati Menaka Gandhi moved the Delhi High Court against the Idgah slaughterhouse of Delhi in the larger public interest. The court gave the following directions which apply to all slaughterhouses in India. Children below the age of 18 years shall not be allowed to work in the slaughterhouse. Each slaughterhouse has a license for a prescribed number of animals. The number of animals slaughtered may not exceed 2,500 per day, that is 2,000 sheep and goats and 500 buffaloes. These are, slaughterhouses which are meant for the production of meat and meat products. There should be adequate number of veterinary doctors for the purpose of proper examination of animal thoroughly before issuing a fitness certificate for animals to be slaughtered. So every animal must have a fitness certificate that it is free of all these above conditions, and it also is free of any disease or any illness, so that it is safe for consumption. So every animal before slaughter should be thoroughly checked by veterinary doctor, and fitness certificate should be taken. And compounding fee in respect of sheep, goats is increased from rupees 50 to 500, and for buffaloes from 200 to 2000. The maximum number of animals allowed to be carried in open trucks must not exceed 40 goats or sheep and 4 buffaloes. The slaughterhouse should have proper light, electricity, fans, and coolers in its various sections. According to the municipal laws, if there is a municipal authorized slaughterhouse, then there can be no private slaughterhouse and no license can be issued to such slaughterhouse, as they are illegal. As per the Indian standard, the basic requirement for a slaughterhouse are: slaughterhouses may be located outside or on the periphery of a city or town or village away from an airport. There must be services of potable water, electricity, and proper hygienic sewage disposal facilities. There must be a resting place for animals before slaughter. There must be adequate facilities for before killing inspection. Carrying out of human slaughter, they should not be subjected to pain and suffering before or in the process of slaughtering. Flaying, dressing, and washing of the carcasses, and inspection of meat and disposal of meat unfit for consumption. After slaughtering, even meat also should be inspected, and if that meat is unfit for human consumption, it should not be used and it should be disposed as per the rules and regulations. If any slaughterhouse does not adhere to these standards, it cannot be licensed. And the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals Slaughterhouse Rules 2001 prescribes the following requirements for a slaughterhouse. Section 4, 1 to 8 states that the slaughterhouse shall have a reception area of adequate size, sufficient for livestock, subject to veterinary inspection. The veterinary doctor, after examining the animal, shall issue a fitness certificate for each animal. The veterinary doctor shall examine thoroughly not more than 12 animals in an hour and not more than 96 animals in a day. The reception area of the slaughterhouse shall have proper ramps for direct unloading of animals from vehicles or railway wagons, and the said reception area shall have adequate facility sufficient for feeding and watering of animals. Separate isolation pens shall be provided in slaughterhouse with watering and feeding arrangements for animals suspected to be suffering from contagious and infectious diseases and fractious animals in order to segregate them from the remaining animals. Adequate holding area shall be provided in slaughterhouse according to the class of animals to be slaughtered. Ante-mortem, before death, and a pen area shall preferably be covered and shall be paved with materials such as concrete, non-slippery, herringbone type, or bricks suitable to stand wear and tear by hooves, and suitable drainage facilities shall be provided around the borders of the area except at the entrances. Section 5, 1 to 5 states that every animal after veterinary examination shall be passed on to a resting place adequate in size and sufficient for the number of animals for resting for 24 hours before slaughtering. So the space provided in the pen shall not be less than 2.8 square meter per large animal and 1.6 square meter per small animal. The animal shall be kept separately depending on their type and class and protected from heat and rain. The resting place shall have adequate facilities for watering and post-mortem inspection. See, we see on various places, animals are just killed like that, or sacked, brutally killed for meat. But enough care has to be taken. In the very first place, it's always better to avoid consumption of meat or meat products due to various reasons, like they are also our fellow species and fellow beings, and they are also sentient beings. They also have this pain and pleasure, and even if slaughtering is happening somewhere else, so all these care rules and regulations have to be followed. Otherwise, you can report to police station as per these sections, rules, laws, acts, and ask for suitable action. So we see a lot of meat shops also, meat stalls selling this meat. So what are the laws, rules governs that govern meat shops or stalls? Let's look at them. Meat shop refers to the shop that does not kill the animal but sells the meat. There are rules and regulations for such outlets. The Bureau of Indian Standard rules deals with the basic requirements for a stall for sale of meat of small and large animals. It is the norm to be followed for licensing and regulating the sale of meat and maintenance of hygienic conditions of the meat stall. It states that all meat stalls can only be set up in a designated places as a unit of meat market and shall be located at a place away from vegetable or other food markets. The meat shall be free from undesirable odor, smoke, dust, or other contaminants. The main services such as potable water, electricity, and proper hygiene, sewage disposal facilities are essential prerequisites. A block shall consist of a number of meat stalls and shall be enclosed in compound walls which barricades entry of dogs, cats, birds, and other undesirable elements into the block. Each block shall be provided with potable water, storage supply tank with taps to facilitate withdrawal of water by meat stalls. A meat stall shall consist of meat preparation room, sales counter, or ante room and covered passage in front of or a veranda for customers. The meat preparation room may be of minimum 3.75 by 3 meter by 3 meter for small animals, or 4.5 by 4.5 by 4.5 meter for large animals depending on the stock. Screened ventilators shall be provided near the ceiling for facilitating cross ventilations. Care should be taken that no direct sunlight falls on the dressed carcasses. The room shall suitably be made fly-proof and provided with fly traps. The floors of all rooms shall be of such construction that are easy for washing and cleaning with water wherever possible. A covered passage protected from rain and sun shall be provided in the meat stall for the customers. Each stall shall be provided with a water tap. The knives, tools, and hooks used shall be of stainless steel of good condition. Now we also see, different kinds of meat are sold in the shops or open markets or closed markets. So is it a crime to kill or sell camel's meat? Camel's meat is not notified if item of food as per the provisions of the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals Act 1960. So presently, provision is available only for slaughtering cattle, goats, sheep, and pigs. So within the corporation limits, there is no qualified veterinary surgeon who can certify the fitness of a camel or the suitability of its meat for consumption by human beings or a licensed person to slaughter a camel. So There is no licensed persons within the corporation limits for the sale of camel's meat. The license of other meat will not enable the sale of camel's meat. Now we have seen, slaughtering of cows on various occasions, and even also Bakrid is also considered illegal. No animal can be slaughtered except goats. On even Bakrid also, no animal can be slaughtered. Only goats and sheep are only allowed. So the division bench of Calcutta has ruled that slaughter of cows by members of Muslim community on Bakrid is not a requirement of the Muslim religion and should be banned. The Supreme Court has upheld this decision, and the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals Act, Slaughterhouses Rules 2001 provides that no one can slaughter animals in slums, in roadside meat shops, or in dabas, or in private houses. The rule applies in the slaughtering of goats on Bakrid also. So slaughter can only take place in the government designated idgas, but not in mosques. So even on Bakrid also, there are rules and regulations. No animal can be just slaughtered openly and publicly and in any other places. So this applies not only just for, all the religions. And cow slaughter is strictly banned. And we will also look at animal sacrifice and what are various laws. Animal sacrifice is also illegal. The act of animal sacrifices is covered under the Local Municipal Corporations Act, Prevention of Cruelty to Animals Act, 1960, Wildlife Protection Act, 1972, Indian Penal Code, IPC. It is also specifically forbidden in the following states under the prohibition of Bird and Animal Sacrifice Act. We'll see this tomorrow, and we will move on to today's commemorations. So there are various state acts also, like in Andhra Pradesh, Gujarat, Karnataka, Kerala, Pondicherry, Rajasthan, Tamil Nadu, regarding this prohibition of birds and animals sacrifice act. We'll see this and we'll continue the other rules and acts tomorrow. So we'll move on to today's commemorations. So this week is also, we have various, though we don't have any significant international event, but we have few events like this entire week is also commemorated as Data Privacy Week. And today, we have one important day, International Day of Education and International Mobile Phone Recycling Day. and Macintosh Computer Day, that is, Apple, Mac, iPad, all these things are there. No? So we will look at each of those. So Data Privacy Week is commemorated from January 24th to 28th, is an integral and international effort to create awareness about digital data privacy and how it is being used and sometimes exploited by business. So the cause advocates respecting the privacy of individuals and for businesses to be more transparent about how they handle user data. Millions of people are unaware of how their digital activity and personal data are being collected and shared with large corporations. Data Privacy Week gives the power to control privacy back to users. In 1981, a treaty titled the Convention for the Protection of Individuals with regard to automatic processing of personal data was formed by the Council of Europe. This was the first ever international treaty that dealt with data privacy and its protection. The treaty safeguarded the rights of the privacy of users, maintaining in the ever-growing digital flow of personal data across the borders. To commemorate the signing of Convention of 108, Data Protection Day was created on April 26, 2006. So with the date of the observance set on January 28, in 2022, the annual holiday expanded to a week-long campaign called Data Privacy Week, and it educates users about online privacy, how to identify whether their personal information is being used, and what measures should be taken to prevent data breaches. And it also encourages companies to stop misusing data collected and to be accountable about how consumer data is being collected and used. Every single activity done online leaves a trace, whether it is an individual's online activity, frequently visited websites, or personal information such as identification numbers. It is all collected and shared without the user knowledge. As the digital hub grows and with children being exposed to internet culture more than so ever, it is becoming increasingly important to handle and protect your personal information online. So we encourage everyone to be stringent with their privacy settings, passwords, and where they are uploading their valuable information. So the first international treaty on data privacy and convention and protection is signed, that is Convention 108 on January 28, 1981. And the Data Protection Treaty is revised, adding artificial intelligence and its applications, and it's updated in 1985. And Data Privacy Day, expanding from Europe, Data Privacy Day is observed in the US and Canada in January 2008. And in 2022, a week-long observance of the National Cybersecurity Alliance observes Data Privacy Week. So how we can protect our privacy? There are some basic ways to protect our privacy by creating stronger passwords, regularly updating them, using a VPN for web browsing, and checking your social media accounts' privacy settings regularly. Data privacy is the determination of which data stored virtually can be shared with third parties or by firms or individuals. So how to observe Data Privacy Week? Change your passwords. This is simple yet effective way to protect your data. It is good to update all your passwords once every few months, as they are prone to appearing in data leaks. Manage your privacy. Take into account all your information that is available online. Be aware of which websites have access to your personal information and make sure you know all the relevant privacy settings. And read about how big companies like Google, Facebook, WhatsApp, Instagram are collecting your user data and for what purposes. Terms of service and privacy agreements are available for everyone to read as well. And you know, the kingpin of the data collection, Google, is the kingpin. 40% of all the web traffic is monitored and tracked by Google. Google isn't the only company. Facebook, Twitter, Microsoft, and there are various other contenders for tracking user activity and web traffic. And the primary purpose for collecting user data is to generate targeted advertisements, ads. And what privacy law says? Privacy laws exist for individuals. Privacy laws allows individuals to take back complete ownership of their data and even exercise their right to be forgotten. So we have stringent privacy laws where we can take back the control of all the data which is being monitored, controlled by Google or any other giant. So we can take complete ownership and if we want, we can delete all the data and we can ask them to delete all the data which has been being monitored and controlled, which includes all our activities online. But you should know what all data is being stored, recorded. So for that it is important to know and suitably make necessary changes. So replica profiles are also created. Every user has a profile made about them containing data on them. And it is always better to be safe than sorry, especially online. Data Privacy Week creates awareness about data security and addresses justified concerns of users whose personal information is compromised. And although cyber laws exist, the situation is spiraling out of control. There is a need for national institutions to intervene and establish stricter regulations on corporations to ensure cyber security. And it also prevents people from becoming victims. The darker side of information collection is how unsuspecting users become targets of cyber stalking and scams. Incidents can even take place offline if the location of an individual is available. And today is also International Day of Education. It looks at education from a broader perspective. The quality of education varies for children around the world, with millions still deprived of basic human rights. The day is created to campaign for better education reforms and improve access to education for all. It is a day to celebrate and advocate for access to education. One of the best ways to help everyone gain access to education is through scholarships and various other making education affordable and free. In December 2018, January 24 was proclaimed by the United Nations General Assembly as the International Day of Education to celebrate education and reflect on the importance of learning for development, peace, imparting imparting education is not limited to instructions. Each of us has a duty to promote quality education. What most of us likely take for granted, allowing access to education can lift many out of poverty and pave the path for a promising future. According to UNESCO statistical data, an estimated 258 million children are not in school. The situation is worse for marginalized communities, those living in regions with higher inequality and underdeveloped countries. The bitter reality is that there are countless societies around the world today where education is dismissed as unnecessary. International Day of Education is a call for action, bringing individuals, civil society, and policymakers to take solid steps towards ensuring that primary and secondary education is given to children, as well as the improving youth engagement in education. Learning programs should be designed for the needs of different demographics, converging to one main goal, equipping children with the education needed for employment and better futures. The theme proclaimed by the United Nations for International Education Day in 2022 was changing course, transforming education. Times have changed, so the methods and mediums of learning also changed. Education was digital in the years of 2020 to 2022 and now heading towards a revival. So the Convention on the Rights of the Child states that all countries are required to make higher education accessible to all under Education for All in 1989. And the No Child Left Behind Us Act is passed. US Act is passed, Equality for All in 2002. And education is recognized as the underlying agent for the success of the Sustainable Development Goals agenda for 2030 in 2005, and quality, not the quantity. So Pakistan's National Education Assessment Report states that despite enrollment in schools, a significant number of students still scored lower than the required level in 2016. So let's stay up to date with the curriculum and teaching methods of schools in our areas. It's important to know where our area stands in terms of education after you graduate. And if you know someone who is out of school, it's time to talk to them of their guardian about it. Do your part in promoting and advocating education and its importance. Education-based organizations work towards their mission of promoting education. Donate generously to your favorite cause. Your contribution can secure a life child's future. And education, as already mentioned, is a human right. It is as simple as that. Education is a human right. To deprive someone of this right is tragic, as it can make the difference between a turbulent or prosperous future. And without education, there cannot be persistent development. It is essential for helping societies evolve and develop. At the core of it, educating an individual means empowering them. It empowers to think, generate ideas, set goals, and have a purpose. Today is also International Mobile Phone Recycling Day, or International World Mobile Phone Day was celebrated on January 26th. In both years, 2015 and 2016, before the date was changed. The reason behind this is because the observance was part of larger international campaign called The Forest is Falling, a call to action, attempting to raise awareness about the far-reaching effects of recycling mobile devices on the ape population in the Eastern Democratic Republic of the Congo, ENDC. The Jane Goodall Institute, JGI, launched this program in 2015, and it has sparked a global movement in which individuals commit to either keeping their phones longer or discarding them ethically and properly. So in 2015, the first official International Mobile Phone Recycling Day was held. The Jane Goodall Institute established the day to raise awareness about the negative impacts of smartphone consumerism on the primate wildlife population in the Eastern Democratic Republic of the Congo and other developing countries. Dr. Jane Goodall, a primatologist, began her groundbreaking research on Tanzania's wild chimps in 1960. Her work extended nearly 60 years and is one of the world's longest running wildlife study programs. Not only that, but her studies help to define how conservation and should include both the environment and influence on communities. As a result, the JGA was established in 1977 to carry out on the work of Dr. Goodwill, particularly in the areas of primate conservation and species protection. So where do these mobile phones and other technical devices come into all of this? On June 3rd, 2014, Time magazine published an article titled, "There May Be Conflict Minerals in Your Smartphone." This highlighted how major technology companies receive crucial metals from products from mines in the DRC and other Central African countries. Some of the money is used to fund the region's ongoing violent conflicts, which have resulted in large casualties, increasing criminality and environmental degradation. The Dodd-Frank Wall Street Reform and Consumer Protection Act was signed into law in 2010, requiring firms to declare the amounts of conflict materials used in technology-based products. As a result, there is now more than of the obligation for digital firms to purchase their raw materials ethically. So it's worth taking a look back at the evolution of the cell phone to understand how this incredible piece of technology has evolved to the point where it's practically an extension of the self. The honor of inventing the portable cell phone, which was released in 1973, goes to Motorola. Martin Cooper, a Motorola engineer, designed it and it costed around $10,000. Following this, numerous prototypes appeared, particularly during 1990s cellular revolution. The unveiling of Apple's first ever iPhone in 2007 marked the next watershed point in smartphone history. With almost half of the world's population now owning a cell phone, the world has become irrevocably changed by its debut. So the first mobile phone was invented in 1973. Martin Cooper, a Motorola executive, invents the first ever portable phone. A mobile phone recycling company, ReCellular, is founded in the United States for recycling in 1991, and a Vodafone developer sends the first message to a phone, which reads "Merry Christmas," the first text ever in 1992. And in 2004, California passes the Cell Phone Recycling Act, which makes it compulsory for all cell phone retailers to collect cell phones from their consumers for safe disposal or recycling. In 2010, the Dodd-Frank Act is enacted, which compels tech companies like Google and Apple to be transparent about their mineral sourcing. And recycling is one of the most effective ways to contribute to the environmental protection. E-waste contains harmful components that can pollute the environment and water sources. And there are various materials like gold, precious element materials, or metals in the mobile phone. A typical cell phone has 0.034 grams of gold in it. The US Geological Survey did the study that led to these statistics. There are around 72 pounds of gold in every million phones discarded. And when looked at the percentage, only roughly 15% of the cell phones in the United States, which is the world's biggest producer of e-waste, are recycled. Annually, about 150 million phones are discarded. So the number of phones recycled is pitiful. So in US, several JGI locations collaborate with recycling organizations to make recycling more accessible. Simply gather all your waste and ship it for free to a collecting partner near you. And let's look at some of the, interesting facts about cell phones. Our phones have roughly 18 more hazardous germ types than the average toilet handle because of the fact that we carry them with us everywhere. See, our mobiles also need to be frequently sanitized, clean, because it contains more bacteria than anything else because we carry it everywhere with us, along with us. So a lot of dirt, bacteria, germs also enter into mobile and over mobile. So even that also has to be frequently cleaned and sanitized. And as per a research, we check our phones 110 times a day on average, especially between 5 to 8 p.m. apparently. And there is such a thing as the fear of being without your phone. It is FOMO is a real thing now. And just imagine fear of being without your phone or network. It is called nomophobia. And there are more phones than people. There are over 7.2 billion mobile phones in the world, more than the average of global population. And recycling e-waste can be lucrative. Gold, silver, and other precious metals worth roughly $60 million are contained in these mobile phones being discarded. So these can be recycled and these metals can be obtained again for reuse. And every day, an estimated 350,000 cell phones are discarded around the world. This adds to the annual production of 50 million tons of e-waste. And recycling can not only help reduce this number and the health consequences it has on all species on the planet, but it can also help offset market demand. As a result, countries like the DCR would suffer from corruption and unending wars as a result of profit. Motives may be seen more favorable consequences. E-waste adds to the release of hazardous components into the environment, affecting the health of all living creatures, including humans. More than 200 million individuals are in danger because of the health problems that e-waste can create. The majority of this e-waste is dumped into poor countries, endangering the people who live there. There is no justice in this, hence a communal movement is required to help mitigate the damage. Recycling of any form is always a good idea because it encourages a more sustainable and environmentally conscious lifestyle. being environmentally conscious is not enough. We must demonstrate our commitment to halting the flood of destruction, and that follows our consumption by our actions. The need for phones is lowered by recycling them, and the waste may be safely disposed of. So today is also commemorated as Macintosh Computer Day, celebrates the same day in 1984 when the very first Macintosh computer, the predecessor of today's Apple computers, was introduced to the public. Macintosh broke into the consumer market as an alternative option to other computers, ushering in a new age of freedom and creativity, and continues to be the preferred system for creatives and techies across the globe. The Macintosh project began in 1979 when Jeff Raskin, an Apple employee, proposed a user-friendly, cost-effective computer for the average consumer. He wanted to name the computer the Macintosh after his favorite type of apple. But the spelling was changed to Macintosh for legal reasons. In September 1979, Ruskin was permitted to start hiring for the project, and he was onboarded with his longtime colleague, Brian Howard. Later on, he would hire Steve Jobs as project lead, sealing the future of Apple computers in technological history. However, in a 2013 interview, Steve Wozniak implied that he had led the initial design and development phase of the Macintosh project. He temporarily left after the company after experiencing a traumatic aeroplane crash in 1981, at which point Jobs took over. In the same interview, Wozniak stated that the original Macintosh failed under Jobs and that it was not until Jobs left that it became a success. He credited the Macintosh ultimate success to the people like John Sculley, who worked to build a Macintosh market when Apple II went away. Reaching a 300 million valuation almost overnight, Apple became the fastest growing company in US history. With over 50 companies salivating for the bite of the apple, one company stood out above the rest, that is IBM. And so began one of the most ruthless rivalries in corporate history, as many promising competitors drastically fell by the wayside. So Macintosh continued in a formidable battle against IBM, but decades later, Apple would take over the industry with the introduction of iPhones and iMacs. Is one of the biggest and longest emerging comebacks in the history of any industry. So Steve Jobs and Steve Wozniak are largely credited with invention of Mac computer. The average price old Macs go for is about $100, and the Mac stands for Macintosh, which is a reference to Jeff Ruskin's favorite type of apple. So if you are in a market for a new laptop or desktop computer, Macs are an excellent choice. Look at some of the reasons people love them and see if it's right choice for you. The Steve Jobs movie is a great and it provides a lot of information about the history of Macintosh that you might find fascinating. We recommend giving it a look. To learn more about Mac and share your love, post a selfie on social media using favorite Apple product and share. And the homemade Apple I was released in 1976. Of the 200 that were produced, only 6 are believed to be still working, and one sold for around 4 lakh 7 pounds at an auction in May 2012. So Ronald Wayne drew the first Apple logo and the Apple One computer user manual. He sold his stake for $1,500 after 2 weeks to settle a debt. It would have been worth $22 billion today. And less than 18 months after introducing the Macintosh, Steve Jobs was ousted as Apple CEO in 1985. Following a power struggle with the board of directors, he would not return until 1996. And the software updates had also unusual names. Until very recently, all Mac OS X software updates were named after big cats. And an Apple computer, which is extremely expensive, Apple Lisa, which predated the Mac, was named after Steve Jobs' daughter, Lisa. And for a long time, Macs have represented the youth going against the grain, embracing the creative side and doing something different. That's why we love Macs. And anyone in the field of marketing can't get Apple commercials go unnoticed. They were historically impactful and an iconic component of the pop culture, which is the part of what makes them so cool. Macs are all well-made and well-respected products loaded with whole bunch of great software, and you have to buy separately on any other PC. So they are reliable. And apart from these commemorations, today is also National Compliment Day. You never know when someone could use some good vibes, so give a compliment. And today is also National Peanut Butter Day, crunchy or smooth. Today we put down our phones and pick up some spreading knives. And today is also Belly Laugh Day. Get ready for a laugh riot and learn about the funny side of life. Today is a Change a Pet's Life Day. Our efforts to save the world through pet adoption prove that not all heroes wear capes. And today is also National Just Do It Day. Get ready for a change because you are finally going to just do it. Today is also Speak Up and Succeed Day. Take a deep breath and raise your voice this Speak Up and Succeed Day. So with this, we shall conclude today's commemorations. And, let's watch small trailer on Steve Jobs. It's a wonderful movie. Watch so that you will know about the history of Mac. Due to time constraints, we are not watching entire movie, but I am showing you a trailer.
What do you do? You're not an engineer. You're not a designer. You can't put a hammer to a nail. I built the circuit board. The graphical interface was stolen. So how come 10 times in a day, I read Steve Jobs as a genius? What do you do?
Musicians play their instruments. I play the orchestra. I hear you've been worse than usual this morning. I didn't think that was possible.
It's a system error.
Fix it.
Fix it?
Yeah.
We're not a pit crew at Daytona. This can't be fixed in seconds.
You didn't have seconds. You had 3 weeks. The universe was created in a third of that time.
Well, someday you'll have to tell us how you did it.
I'm begging you to manage expectations out there.
You see how this reminds you of a friendly face? It's warm and it's playful and inviting and it needs to say hello.
If you keep alienating people for no reason, there's be no one left for it to say hello to.
Your Apple stock was worth $441 million, while your daughter and her mother are on welfare.
She's not my daughter!
You must be able to see that she looks like you.
You're issuing contradictory instructions, you're insubordinate, you make people miserable.
Even if that were true, doesn't sound that diabolical to me.
We've spoken to the fire marshal and the building manager. They're gonna come in and tell everyone to leave.
If a fire causes a stampede to the unmarked exits, it'll have been well worth it for those who survive.
The board believes you're no longer necessary to this company.
I sat in a garage and invented the future because artists lead and hacks ask for a show of hands.
You're gonna end me, aren't you?
You're being ridiculous. I'm gonna sit center court and watch you do it yourself.
Make everything all right with Lisa. Fix it!
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome
We thank you one and all for joining us. And as already announced and shared, we are organizing an international conference on the occasion of 74th Republic Day on 26th January. The registration link has been shared in the chat box. We invite you to be speaker and also participant for the international conference. So see you all tomorrow at the same time with a different topic, with the same link. Quickly fill up the feedback form before you leave the platform. And have a great day. Good night.
what if the computer was a beautiful object? Something you want to look at and have in your home. And what if, instead of it being in the right hands, it was in everyone's hands?
We'd be talking about the most tectonic shift in the status quo since
Ever.
I'm begging you to manage expectations.
Have I ever let you down?
Every single goddamn time.
Then I'm due.
Your Apple stock is worth $441 million. And your daughter and her mother are on welfare.
She's not my daughter!
You must be able to see that she looks like you.
We will know soon enough if you were Leonardo da Vinci or just think you are.
You're the only one who sees the world the same way I do.
no one sees the world the same way you do.
Everyone is waiting for the Mac.
What are people going to do with it?
It's an abstract.
They're gonna do that?
You're issuing contradictory instructions. You're insubordinate. You make people miserable. The board believes you're no longer necessary to this company.
I sat in a garage and invented the future because artists lead and hacks ask for a show of hands.
What you make isn't supposed to be the best part of you when you're a father. That's what's supposed to be the best part of you.
I'm the only one who knows that this guy is someone you invented.
Is there a plan?
The plan will reveal itself to you when you're ready to see it.
Well, it's happening.
The comeback of a superstar.
Co-founder Steve Jobs
is returning to Apple.
Two most significant events of the 20th century. The Allies win the war, and this.
Ladies and gentlemen,